Yo guys, welcome back to Stock Talk Insider. Today I will be talking together with you guys, about AMD, and especially going forward into earnings. And yeah, we'll make an evaluation of what I think will happen. And of course, the most important thing, what I believe in the long term, and in my perspective, that is in 4 to 5 years. As I think that in 4 to 5 years, this will be one of the biggest terms that AMD ever had, and this will be one of the most important times AMD has ever had. So we'll go over earnings and revenue projections, what we can expect, of course, of the analysts. Then again, as I said before, about what I believe the stock price can be in the next 45 years. Just some projections I made, and I also want to mention that last time I looked at the chart, I looked at the numbers, and just in how strong we stood, I took this time period. It's around the same. I took this time period, I made a scale of it, and I copied it into here where we had some momentum going back to those lines. And then we did drop, so that's because, well, that's why these lines are here. But we did drop, and I believe that this was the time period we could hit back at the all-time highs. And we actually got above it. So now we are at 230. The highest point was like 242.71. And now I did make a new scale. I think this can be a little bigger. So I believe going forward, so by mid-January 26, we can go, if earnings allow it, of course, we can go to like 270, 280, 290 easily. 300 maybe a little bit hard, because we can expect a little bit of turbulence in all of the macro data around the whole of the stock market, and that can bring AMD down, of course, just as all of the other stocks and all of the other sectors. We can expect some turbulence there because valuations are high and all of those things, of course, but that's something for another video. You can also look that up. Go to Yahoo Finance, look at all of the macro data that's going on. At one point that can explode, of course, and bring the market into a correction or a nice sell-off. And a recession is something else, of course, but that can happen. So because of that, we can go back, of course, to those lines like 186 and 184. That are some lines that can be considered by things like that. But in my opinion, AMD stands very strong. And I think that with the earnings coming, they will get themselves in an even better place and set themselves even stronger than they are already. So that's already what I wanted to talk about. But so I do have some information that I want to share, of course. I got it all together to make it as clear as possible to you guys. So yeah. AMD's entering its earnings, of course, so with more momentum that we've seen in years. That's very, 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 well, normal, of course, because a multi-year only from OpenAI already, with a multi-year of 6 gigawatt GPU deal with OpenAI and 50,000 GPU AI supercluster with Oracle, of course, and the long-awaited AI PC upgrade cycle, which is finally taking off. Also, the client and gaming segment that is also growing a lot again. So yeah, the question is, can Lisa Su and AMD truly scale into $1 trillion AI powerhouse by the end of the decade? So in my projection term, the coming 5 years, a little less. But yeah, AMD is surely setting the stage, of course. So AMD's Q3 2025 guidance show just how far the company has come. Revenue around 8.7 billion, but we'll take this, for example, to look at it. So we'll begin with this. So yeah, we have the revenue around, for Q3, of course, revenue around 8.7 billion. So these are the projections that I shared before here, over here. So these are the main projections for AMD going into Q3. So that's already forecasted more than $1 billion growth in one quarter. And I do not think that we've seen that already with AMD. I do not think that we have seen such growth for AMD, of course. Going forward from here, I do not think that we've seen that. No, this is literally already a big expectation. You see it here. We actually went down a little bit, of course, with earnings of the last quarters, but we are picking up. But what I just want to say is that the expectations for AMD are so high, and of course now with OpenAI, all of the Oracle knows these expectations will keep increasing, and that gives you guys a lot of expectations. So a lot of higher PEs, of course, and higher stock prices going up in a short time period. But is it backed with real information? Well, in my opinion, it is. So coming back to this, we had 7.7 billion in revenue last quarter, and we are already over 1 billion expected to be growing quarter-over-quarter this year. And in my opinion, $8.75 billion is even slightly less than I expect, actually. So I expect it to be even over 9 billion. What if, just what if, AMD gets really close or even gets it to the 10 billion? If that happens, then something will go loose, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, just talking about the current position, so revenue around 8.7 billion and plus minus 300 million, and for non-GAAP gross margins of 54%, and that's a 28% year-over-year increase, driven primarily by the data center business. But Wall Street isn't focused on the past anymore, of course, so the key is AI momentum at the first place, because yeah, that's logical, I think. The margin stability, we want to improve margin stability and increase it, actually, because we want the highest EPS by 2030. So we have actually the nicest projection, because EPS does a lot for a stock price. And yeah, the 26-27 growth inflection will be the biggest inflection point for this growth cycle of AMD. And of course, we have AMD's AI partnerships that are changing everything. So going a little bit deeper on the OpenAI deal with the 6 gigawatts of GPU power, AMD and OpenAI announced a multi-year 6 gigawatt partnership starting in the second half of 26, built around the MI450 accelerated platform. So if you have not heard already about that, that's why the stock went up so fast over the last 3 weeks. OpenAI received a warrant for up to 10% of AMD if deployment milestones are met, a huge vote of confidence from one of the most influential AI labs in the world. So OpenAI gets 10%, but not yet, only if AMD hits like a price target of $600 by the end of this term. So that should be around 2030. And that's actually what we can expect. So OpenAI will get, well, how they choose, actually, in shares or whatever, they will get the 10% of AMD. And they can do with it what they want. They can sell it, they can hold it. And that's a little bit of the deal. So a huge vote of confidence from one of the most influential AI labs in the world, as said before. This looks in billions in future GPU demand, of course, and puts AMD at the heart of OpenAI's next generation infrastructure, of course, still together with its competitor, NVIDIA. We also have the Oracle Cloud Supercluster, which is also a very big one, which has the 50,000 MI450 GPUs just as OpenAI. And Oracle is going all in with AMD, so they'll deploy a 50,000 GPU AI supercluster using AMD Instinct MI450 chips, which is going live by Q3, so around this period next year in 26. What makes this different? It builds using AMD's new Helios rack design based on Meta's OpenRack Wide ORW standard, meaning it's open, cost efficient, and not locked into NVIDIA's closed ecosystem, of course. This is the definition of the OpenAI infrastructure. So, of course, we also have the Meta, Tesla, and XAI, and a couple of other companies we have to take care of, and we have to take care of the good relationships with them, because these are relationships that we have at AMD. So AMD's Helios rack is now part of Meta's OpenAI data center architecture, and Tesla's XAI is confirmed to be buying both NVIDIA and AMD GPUs for training. Meanwhile, AMD's Ryzen processors already power Tesla's in-vehicle infotainment systems. That's exposure to both the training side of AI and edge computing side in automotive, two of the fastest growing AI markets in the world at this point right now. So, of course, before going to the macro trends, I want to go forward, but this is also what I want to talk about. So the forgotten hero also is the client and segment rival. So therefore we have to go here, by the way. Where did it stand? Gaming segment. So here, the forgotten hero, client segment and rival, segment revival. I mean, so the PC market was declared dead, or well, not operating as it's supposed to, but it's back, and thanks to the AI integration. So a little bit of information is that AI PCs are projected to represent 31 to 40% of shipments by 2025. Driven by the Windows 10 end of support deadline in October 25, by 2028, 90% of enterprise PCs will have built-in NPUs for AI features. The AMD's Ryzen AI chips are powering the new wave of Copilot Plus PCs from Lenovo, HP, and others. So in Q2 2025, AMD's client revenue was up 67% year over year. Prove that segment is once again contributing meaningfully to growth. So you literally see it, you clearly see it. It's improving very nicely, and I also like how they put client and gaming segments together. That's also a very nice update since a couple of quarters. So the strategic highlights, you can all look that up, of course. Going forward on what the focus actually is on the coming earnings call for now. So when AMD reports, these are the 5 key things to listen for. AI GPU backlog confirmed, MI 350 and MI 450, 350 and MI 450, of course. Order volume from OpenAI, Oracle, and Meta. So the gross margin trajectory also going forward is keeping margins around 54%, or of course, how higher, how better, of course, during AI GPU ramp up. The Helios adoption rate, so how many hyperscalers are moving through AMD, and the open rack systems. The client guidance is that the Ryzen AI shipments and adoption pace into 26, and the China exposure also a little bit of confirmation what's going on there, and the current guidance that excludes restricted exports. And it is nice to have some guidance on China because that's a big macro data news exposure. So having said all of that, the long-term projection, I'm not going to talk about the 26, 27, 28, 29. I'm just going to talk about where we're at right now. So we are at 88 PE at this point. So this is the PE ratio of 88.5 actually. And I believe that the normal stock price for now, before we go in Q3, after Q3 this can change a lot, but now before Q3 I believe that the stock price we're at is actually pretty reasonable, especially with the OpenAI news and going forward in coming years. We have $220 to $230 in my opinion before we go in Q3, because just to mention that Q3 can change a lot, especially as we talked before, if AMD hits like well over the 9 billion and going to 10 billion for the coming quarter. But now $220 to $230, maybe $235 is my price valuation for now. Also, having said that, my price prediction for 2030 is a lot. It lies between $910 to $1,000 each share. That's an upside between 295 to 335% in only, 4.5 years. So that's based on a revenue between 125 to 130 billion, an EPS of around 18.25 and a PE between 50 to 55 times earnings, which brings us to a $910,000. So that's the return. By 2030, so AMD could generate $18 in EPS with 22% margins, implying a $1 trillion market cap under steady growth and healthy AI valuation multiple. So the realistic timeline is that 2025 is the foundation year, a lot of deals for going forward, and of course 26 still does that. But 25 is really the foundation year, so strong data center ramp, AI PC adoption begins. 26 is the breakout year. So OpenAI and Oracle deployments start contributing to revenue, and we also have an acceleration up on the breakout year. So 27 is acceleration, major earnings expansion, and likely stock surge. And then we have a little bit higher in 28 and 29, which is the peak growth and full AI monetization. And 2030, we slightly come down. We have the normalization with continued profitability, of course. AMD solidifies itself as a clear #2 AI chip provider behind NVIDIA globally. And of course, that also points to be made. Don't focus on AMD being number one, because this will always be NVIDIA. But AMD as a stock is the better investment in my opinion. Conclusion, AMD is no longer the challenger, it's the OpenAI alternative every hyperscaler is betting on. And yeah, with confirmed partnerships across OpenAI, Oracle, Meta and Tesla of course, plus AI PC upgrades and fueling steady cash flow, AMD could easily double again, and before the decade ends of course. So if Lisa Su delivers strong guidance and clarity on MI 450 ramp up this quarter, then 26, 27, 28 could officially mark the start of AMD's $1 trillion era and some big stock prices, which includes, of course, the big return for you guys, for me, for all of the investors in AMD. So if you're watching AMD heading into earnings, like the video if you want, subscribe for more. I'll break down the actual results and update price targets right after the call. And yeah, do you think that AMD can reach about $1,000 by 2030? Let it know in the comments. What's your projection? What's your expectation? And how do you go into the now coming earnings in Q3? I believe AMD is set for major things. And yeah, of course, put your own due diligence behind it. Put your own thoughts behind it, but this is what I think will happen. This is all of the things I gathered together, and if you look at the revenue, it's already increasing a lot. So yeah, it's just stagnating beautifully, and we'll see where it goes. But I believe that this stagnating will keep continuing for the coming years. Of course, we always can have a dip here and there, but if this includes also the stock price going down, I'll buy even more. And yeah, thanks for watching. Keep watching all of the macro data around AMD because I'm very interested about it. And yeah, I think we're set for going straight into Q3 and also almost ending the 2025 year and going into the hyper years of 26, 27, 28, 29. So thanks for watching and I'll see you guys later. And yeah, again, like this video if you want, subscribe to the channel. We're almost at 200 subscribers. That should be very nice. And yeah, leave a comment. I really appreciate every comment and time you put into that because I really use all of those feedback moments. So thanks for watching and I'll see you guys later. Bye.